that isn't the Volkswagen way. 1988 Fox, only $62.90.
You've suffered through all kinds of diets and regimens, but if you don't get enough protein when you're dieting to lose fat, you might lose muscle. Protein can help you keep muscle while you lose fat, and Special K has the highest level of dietary protein available in a cereal. So one reason for including the under 200 calories Special K breakfast in a balanced diet is rather obvious. Special K. Keep the muscle, lose the fat.
60 Minutes, a CBS News weekly magazine, will continue.
They drove 10,000 cattle, over 1,000 miles of sudden death. James Arness, Bruce Boxleitner, and Gregory Harrison. Red River, tonight.
CBS, he's your favorite country singer in a unique musical celebration. Kenny Rogers, Working America.
This is CBS.
8 mornings, especially the waking up part. Probably wouldn't make it if I didn't have something special to help. New Folgers Gourmet Supreme. That aroma. I haven't even tasted it and the cobwebs are clearing.
Wake up your day in a supremely good way.
Introducing Folgers Gourmet Supreme, made from the finest Arabica beans. They're deep roasted to create a supremely rich aroma and luxurious gourmet taste.
Ah, now that's worth waking up for. Maybe mornings aren't so bad after all.
Wake up your day in a supremely good way with new Folgers Gourmet Supreme.
Peace Corps is creating food systems in Africa, building homes in Costa Rica. It's been tough, but for 25 years, the Peace Corps has been making a difference in the world. Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
Channel 2, your weekend eye on news.
Ask someone why Steve Martin is funny, and they'll start to stumble and grope for words. There's just something about the sight of the straightest-looking guy doing the stupidest possible things that's almost irresistible. So much so that he became the class clown of an entire generation. Back in the 70s, when everyone else was doing political satire, Martin made it all right to laugh at looniness again. Recently, up at Harvard, the Hasty Pudding Theatrical Group made their favorite loony their man of the year, and then asked him our question: why is Steve Martin funny?
Well, you know, I don't really try to make people laugh. I try to think of something that surprises me. And you know, it always makes it interesting for you because you're not really there to please. You know, it's too obsequious, you know, and the audience would sense it. You're there to surprise yourself, and ultimately, maybe you'll surprise them. What I tried to do when I first started doing my act was I said, there's this kind of comedy that takes place among a close circle of friends that I would like to try and get on stage. That's best defined by you had to be there.
Dancing by the Nile. The ladies love this style. Oh no, I'm getting happy feet. Whoa!
Please remember one thing. I'm an experienced professional. Don't you try this at home.
Home to Steve Martin is a stark white, modern Beverly Hills house that faces inward on a swimming pool. It has no front windows, and he likes it that way. Offstage, the antic exhibitionist is a kind of introvert who likes to read philosophy and spend evenings at home with his wife of 1 year, actress Victoria Tennant.
I didn't know he was really, really famous, or like people were going to go nuts on the streets when we walked around. It was a huge shock. And because he's a comedian and not a Shakespeare actor, they're all going, you know. I mean, they make a lot of noise, don't they? They shout from across the street.
Tennant is British, and unlike the rest of us, didn't know her shy husband had a closet full of wacky alter egos.
Where
two wild and crazy guys.
It gradually dawned on me that there must be something else to it because of the recognition and because people kept asking me if he was a wild and crazy guy. I thought they were completely mad. And after about the fifth person had asked me, I went to Steve and I said, I'm missing something here. It's obviously something to do with some past life of yours that I'm not aware of. What is this wild and crazy guy? And he went, oh, God, if I tell you, he won't like me anymore.
I guess the assumption is that you're kind of two people.
Well, let's look at it this way. What if I weren't? And you came over here and I was completely zany. Would you really want to spend any time with me, you know, anywhere? Not really. I mean, you have to calm down and talk seriously to someone at some point. I've seen these reproduced so many times. It's the first time they've ever been in a big group like this where you can actually see them.
Martin has no trouble being taken seriously here at the Los Angeles County Art Museum. He has a private collection of modern art that is one of the best in the country.
It's good the picture's out. It's good for it to get out and meet other pictures.
Art critics rave about his eye for what's good and what isn't. We watched him and artist David Hockney touring the Hockney exhibit as it was being hung.
Would you, if you could have chosen, would you rather be able to do this than anything else?
Well, I envy artists. Although if you say that to them, they look at you like you're crazy. Like I said, there's something about being in dirty pants with paint all over you and doing this. So that's my image of what they do. They go like that. And you work at your own pace and your own time, and you can say, I think I'll go to lunch now.
And that's being an artist.
Now, while it's true that no comedian can keep up the act for 24 hours a day, it does seem the split in Martin's personality is about as wide as it gets. You just can't believe this mild-mannered museum intellectual is the same guy who does those outrageous things.
When I was younger, just a bad little kid, my mama noticed funny things I did, like shooting puppies with a BB gun.
I really considered the role because there's a big trap in it to do the sort of standard impression of a biker. And it had to take on some new dimension. I said, I think the key to the character is this. I sort of made some gesture and talked like that.
She said, my boy, I think someday you'll find a way to get out the Kansas K. You'll be a dentist. You have a talent for causing things.
As every Steve Martin fan knows, the movie is Little Shop of Horrors.
Steve is a perfectionist in his work. I mean, to the minutest detail. So every aspect of it has to be perfect, perfectly funny, perfectly conceived, and perfectly executed.
That was almost.
But people were always shocked, weren't they, when you could really play? They assumed it was all part of the act and you could kind of strum around a little, but people were kind of stunned when you could play.
I always felt I had to show off a little bit.
It's another Martin trademark that when he masters something, he moves on. He walked away from the stand-up act when he was still drawing crowds of 20,000 people. At the time, the largest crowds in the history of live comedy.
Do you have a gift for not staying so long that you burn out, or staying so long that you become unwelcome? Is that a gift?
I was always aware of that. In fact, I remember saying, you can do something like you can do, if you do stand-up too long, I eventually ask you to sit down.
It was that same restless desire to move on that led Martin into the most dangerous move of his career.
Every time it rains, it rains. Pennies from heaven.
He made a dark, caustic movie about the Depression called Pennies from Heaven. It was a film that confused his audience and the critics. His next 3 movies sagged. For a while, it looked as if he had finally taken one risk too many.
Did it embarrass you?
Oh, horribly. I'm ashamed to say how I felt. I felt like a big failure. It's like that flash in the pan thing you always hear about.
Afraid maybe you'd thrown it all away.
Not thrown it away, because I was never afraid to do that, to throw it all away.
Because I read someplace that you said that Pennies from Heaven was one of the biggest career mistakes that you had made.
Not a mistake. A mistake is something you regret. And I don't regret that. I mean, first of all, I had to learn how to dance. Now, when you're dancing, starting out as a clumsy idiot for 12 hours, 8 hours a day, you don't have time to regret or think or do anything. You're just so tired, and the next day you start up and start tap dancing again.
Do you like yourself as a dancer?
I don't think of myself as a dancer. I think of myself as a dance parody.
Come on, really. Don't you look in the mirror sometimes and say, Fred Astaire?
No. It's funny. I couldn't, as Steve Martin, go, I love to love, and sing. But if I do it as a joke, like I just did, I can do it. I love to love you. It's just bad. It's bad enough that it's, you're doing parody.
And who else but Martin would try a parody of the dueling scene from the classic Cyrano de Bergerac, with a tennis racket and a silly sort of ballet.
Are we having fun yet? Hey.
The movie was a hit. Roxanne. You use the word silly. Do you think that's the essence of his comedy?
I think silliness is the hardest or the bravest kind of comedy. I mean, it is, because when it doesn't work, you can't say that you're making this brilliant satiric point about man's inhumanity to man. You're just out there.
Lorne Michaels is Martin's close friend and the creator of Saturday Night Live, the show that made Martin a national sensation back in 1976. Are you surprised at his longevity?
No, I think that he's eternal, and I think he'll be around forever, and I think that he just keeps getting better and better.
But most Martin fans think their versatile hero can't get much better than he did in Roxanne. Not only did he play the lover with the laughable nose and the aching heart, but he spent 2.5 years writing the screenplay himself. Tender, lyrical words for a character Martin understands. A bold clown in public, a shy poet in love.
Yesterday on the street, I swore I heard your name. I swore I heard someone say it, and I turned, and there was nobody there. Just 5 birds rising off the ground, and when their wings hit the air, I heard your name again. And just for that second, I was one of them, pounding out your name, Roxanne.
That doesn't quite go with Wild and Crazy Guy. But although I know that's an appellation that's going to be with me forever.
Where do you see yourself going from here? From comedy, which do you prefer, comedy or the more serious acting as opposed to stand-up?
You never realize where you're going next. Suddenly something occurs to you. You find yourself being a legit actor all of a sudden, and then I came up with this idea called the Great Flydini, where I come out and unzip my fly and produce a ton of things out of my fly.
Don't worry, it's all perfectly chaste, perfectly absurd.
I think it's an idea that is too dumb not to do. That's what I like. What strikes me funny is, beside the act, people are saying, I wonder what it looks like in there.
Still got eggs. Holy smoke, got another egg there. Jeez.
Backstage, Martin sheds Flydini and gets ready to move on.
Nothing else. Okay. This is a weird profession. You go into a state of grace after a while where you haven't done it for a while, and you overdo it, and then they hate you, and then you don't do it, and they go, what happened to him? And then you come back, and then you disappear, and then you, and it almost looks like it's planned, but it's not. It's just a general flow of show business. You can never be new again. You can come back, but you can't be new. So that new period is sort of a magical time.
Game. Let's play again sometime.
Some people move up in the world a little faster than others. Maybe it's because they know what's waiting for them when they get to the top. A luxury car. One of the big three. Lincoln Continental, Lincoln Mark 7, or Lincoln Town Car. Anything less isn't worth the climb. Lincoln, what a luxury car should be.
The beauty of Mannington Never Wax floors is how beautifully they can change the look of any room. And unlike no wax floors, Mannington Never Wax has a built-in shine that never needs strippers or polishes to stay beautiful. So your Mannington floor won't change unless you want it to. And now through May 21st, if you throw away your strippers or polishes at your Mannington dealer, you can save 20% on nearly 100 Never Wax floors.
No matter what the occasion, we fill it with pride and care and good taste. And maybe that's why we get invited back so often. There's a name for food this good. Hormel.
What's Andy Rooney planning on doing? The same thing we're all planning on doing.
I'm planning on doing my income tax the next 2 or 3 weeks now. They give you this booklet, Instructions for Preparing. On the cover, there's a letter from the commissioner, Lawrence B. Gibbs, and it's the kind of thing that makes you wonder about the IRS. Dear taxpayer, he begins. He calls us dear. I guess he likes us. This year, the Tax Reform Act of 1986 will have a major impact on the preparation of your tax return. Major impact, that's the way they say change in Washington. Impact is government talk. Next paragraph. We have been working hard this year to get ready for the next filing season. Now, is this any place for him to be telling me how hard he's been working? Is there any place on the tax form for me to tell him how hard I've been working? Look at this. Our goal is to make taxes less taxing. Puts that in capital letters. Very clever, Larry. Have you ever thought of going into the advertising business? Maybe you could invent slogans. You know, we make money the old-fashioned way. We take it from you. Then he says he has a few suggestions. Start preparing your return earlier than ever before. They always tell you it'll make it easier if you do your tax return early. What they don't tell you is who it'll be easier for. It'll be easier for them. That's who it'll be easier for. Won't be any easier for you. Here's the so-called simplified tax form, 1040EZ. It says, please print your numbers like this. See how they tell you to write the number 4? That's the way most of us do it anyway. So how come in 12 other places on this one page alone, they write their 4s this way? On the first page of this form, they have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and 5. On the next page, they don't feel like doing the step thing anymore. They call them parts. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and you notice they decide to use Roman numerals over here. Well, I think Lawrence Gibbs, our tax commissioner, knows I'm just kidding about all this. Just a little joke, Larry. You're doing a great job. I'll have my tax return in early this year because I want to make it easy for you fellows. Maybe I could take you and the missus out to dinner some night. Could I deduct that as a business expense?
A couple of weeks ago, we did a profile of Admiral William Crowe, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the letters are still coming in. One of them said of the Admiral, it was very encouraging to see a senior military officer who didn't have a John Wayne mentality. Another said of us, Finally, you got an honest conversation out of a government official. Thank you. About our story on people who buy precious metals over the phone from telemarketers, a viewer summed it up this way: a fool and his money are soon parted. But we also heard from a telemarketer who said, the amount of goods and services legitimately sold in this nation via the telephone is staggering. By implying that we are all boiler room operators, you left a totally incorrect impression of our role in today's economy. Back in 1984, we did a story about a B-52 pilot who was forced out of the Air Force for smoking marijuana. He said it wasn't true, but a urine test said it was. Now the Air Force says Captain Ed Pearson wasn't a marijuana smoker after all, that the test on him and thousands of others was faulty. All the charges have been stricken from his record. Well, better late than never. Long since out of uniform, Pearson graduates this spring from law school in Mississippi. Getting back to the mail, a lot of viewers weren't too happy with Marge Schott, the owner of the Cincinnati Reds, who we profiled last week. For openers, there was this. She prohibits her players from wearing long hair, mustaches, or beards, yet she smokes and cusses right there on TV. Talk of hypocrisy. But our favorite letter came from a Mr. Charles Ruffner of Miami, Florida. It came with a picture of the 1869 Cincinnati Red Stockings cut out of an old copy of Harper's Weekly. His letter said, as you can see, half of the players had either a mustache, a beard, or both, and that year Cincinnati was winning games by scores as lopsided as 30-10. Take that, Mrs. Schott. I'm Terry Reasoner. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.
This portion of 60 Minutes was sponsored by Scorpio and XR4 TI. German performance at select Lincoln Mercury dealers.
Mercury, the cars that changed the direction of the wind, directing the flow of the rushing air to help keep them firmly in contact with the road. Mercury, the cars that change the direction of the wind are changing the direction of automotive design. Mercury, the shape you want to be in.
There's one company that knows your home almost as well as you do. So when it comes time to sell, they're the people you should call. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Service.
Starting April 23rd, only Northwest Airlines will prohibit smoking on all flights throughout North America. Northwest Airlines.
World driving champion Jackie Stewart demonstrates how Scorpio offers all the performance you expect from a German touring sedan. Now, Jackie demonstrates one way Scorpio performs like no other German touring sedan. Scorpio, German performance you can be comfortable with at select Lincoln Mercury dealers.
Music, please.
Welcome, Ned Beatty, Tony Basil, Jim Stafford, Denis Lacombe, Buster Poindexter, Pat Paulson, and more to the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, Wednesday.
There's been an accident.
A vicious bull, an open window, a vengeful clown, a mysterious call, an incendiary couch. Murder, She Wrote. Next.
What I tried to do when I first started doing my act was I said, there's this kind of comedy that takes place among a close circle of friends that I would like to try and get on stage. That's best defined by you had to be there.
Dancing by the Nile. Disco. The ladies love this style. Oh no, I'm getting happy feet. Whoa!
Tonight, James Arness, Bruce Boxleitner, and Gregory Harrison head an all-star cast in an epic Western classic, Red River. But first, a rodeo becomes a backdrop for foul play on Murder, She Wrote. Next.
I'm sorry, I'm angry. I'm sorry. We'll be back after this commercial.
For a printed transcript of this or any edition of 60 Minutes, send $3 to Transcripts, 267 Broadway, New York, New York, 10007.